Hi, I'm still in Bible Story Volume 3, and we are at Part 2, Story 4, The Lonely Journey. Okay, that's up the way. Okay, it says, Please, please, dear Lord, let me go over and see the land of Canaan. Moses prayed over and over again. And no wonder, for 80 years he had dreamed about it. In the dark days in Egypt, and all through the wandering in the wilderness, and he thought about it. When the people had become discouraged, he had tried to cheer them up with stories of the good things that they would enjoy in the promised land. Now he arrived at the Jordan. Across it he could see Jericho and the mountains beyond, and the mountains beyond. Okay, I'll keep adding words because I read weird. He was so near and yet so far. Again he cried to God, I pray thee, let me go over. I see the goodly land that is beyond the Jordan, that goodly morning, that goodly morning, and the Lebanon. But God said, No. Speak no more unto me about this matter, he said. God said. And there's Moses praying to go into Canaan. But, the reason why, if you've seen any of the others, it must have been hard to take. And all because of that one sin when he had disobeyed the Lord, disobeyed God, and struck the rock twice. Yet God's seemingly hardness was really kindness in disguise. For God was, for Moses, excuse me, for God was now 120 years old, and God knew he wasn't strong enough to bear the burden of leading Israel through the days of battle ahead. It was better that younger hands should undertake the great new risk. Get thee up to the top of Pisgah. Pisgah. I should know these words because some of these words is what are in Mississippi a lot. So Pisgah, and that's how we say it. Pisgah. Pisgah. And God said to him, Lift up thine eyes westward, and northward, and southward, and eastward, and behold it with thine eyes. For thou shalt not go over this Jordan, but charge Joshua and encourage him and strengthen him, for he shall go over before this people, and he shall cause them to merit the land which thou shalt see. In other words, Joshua was in charge. You don't need to be doing that anymore. Let me get one more center. Okay. Moses knew now that his end was near. The time had come for Israel to cross the Jordan, and he must be left behind. They would go on, and he would stay. Joshua would lead them, not he. So he called the people together for the last time. They came flocking to him, as they had done many times before. Standing before the congregation, he spoke in a voice as loud and as clear as ever. For though he was old, his eyes were not dim, nor his natural force abated. It says abated. Hour after hour, he retold the story of God's blessing throughout the 40 years since the great deliverance from Egypt. Most of those who listened had never seen Egypt. Many of them were just boys and girls or babies in their mother's arms at the crossing of the Red Sea. Many had only faint memories of, of the giving of the law on Sinai. As for the children, they knew nothing of these things except as their parents told them. That's why some of the complainers were complaining about going back to Egypt, and they ain't never said it. And that's what some of the preachers talk about too. But, there's other things. Some of that's flowing through my head too. I got a lot of things that flow through my head. All right, let me get back to the story. So Moses began at the beginning and told the whole wonderful story over again, reminding them of the way God had sent them food and water and gave them victory. All the way that ye went, he said, the Lord thy God bare thee as a man doeth bear his son. In other words, the Lord carried for you as if he was a man that cared for his own son. They all understood that, especially the smaller boys and girls. They remember how their daddies picked them up, so it says, picked them up when they were tired and put them on their shoulders. God had been like a father to all them, helping them in every time of need. And why? Because he wanted them to be a good example to all other people in the world. He gave them the 10 Commandments so that they would know the difference between right and wrong. He told them to build a sanctuary so that they know that God expected no so they would know that God expected them to be pure and a holy people. And then of course it has a picture of Moses in front of them talking. And where it'll be there? This illustration. I feel like some of these are watercolors. I've never seen the real ones, but I'm sure they're out there somewhere. The originals. Because somebody might got them in a closet somewhere. Okay, let's get back to the story. For thou art the holy people unto thy God, Lord thy God, said Moses. And the Lord thy God had chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all that are upon the face of the earth. King James. Then he added that they would have many wrong ideas. They won't have any wrong ideas. That's what it says. And the Lord did not set his love upon thee, nor choose you, because ye are more in number than any people, for ye are a fewest of all people. But because the Lord loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers, hath the Lord brought you out of a mighty hand, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. I'm going to get tongue-tied with these King James stuff, but bear with me, folks. Because God loved them so much, there was nothing he would not do for them if only they would be true to him. And I know I read like a robot. If thou shalt hearken diligently upon the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, he said, all the blessings shall come unto thee and overtake thee. That's the blessing once you do what is right, and your blessings will come. All sort of blessings would come running after them and catch them and surprise them. They would be blessed in the cities and in their farms, at home and abroad, everywhere and in everything. And the Lord shall open unto thee his good treasure. Then it's got dots, because some of the stuff has got dots in it. But if y'all have the copy, y'all can read with me. Okay, back to story. The Lord shall make thee the head and not the tail. So Moses tried to tell them how much good would come to them if they would keep close to God and remember to do his commandments. But he also warned them of what would happen if they should forget God and turn away from him. Instead of being blessed, they would be cursed. Sickness, disease, and trouble of all kinds will come upon them. Instead of enjoying the promised land, they would be scattered among all nations, which they eventually did until they came back together. But you got to think, this is 1954, so they already had, Israel's already a country by then. For thou wilt not observe to do all the words of his law that are written in this book, he said, for thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, the Lord thy God. Then the Lord will make thy pledge wonderful. And then it goes to another quote, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of earth to the other, which he really did. Closing his talk, he said, see, I have set before thee this day life and good, and death and evil. And then another quote, therefore choose life. Then Moses called to Joshua before him and said, and in the sight of all Israel, he passed the leadership over to him. Bravely, but perhaps with tears in his eyes, he said to him, be strong and of good courage, for thou must go with this people unto the land which the Lord hath sworn unto thy fathers to give them. And then a long pause, and another quote. And the Lord, he, and the Lord, he it is that doeth go before thee. He will be with thee. He will not fail thee, nor forsake thee. Fear not, never be dismayed. And then it has a picture of Moses with his hand on Joshua's head. And this might be a painting, an oil. It's not like the others. And then it says, Russ Harlan. So that one might be an oil. Might be a real one. Okay. And then we got another one, illustration. It says Harry, or another painting. It says Harry Anderson. And it says Moses looking out. Looking out. And it says, on the top of Pisgah, Moses took a long look at the fruitful valley and grassy plains of the promised land, which Israel was now to inherit after their wilderness wanderings. And of course, I like saying Pisgah, because that's the Mississippi way. All right, let's get back to the story. Moses and Joshua then went together onto the tabernacle, and the Lord appeared in the tabernacle in a pillar of a cloud. So the people knew that the choice of Joshua as their new leader was God's choice too. Now the meeting was over. The people were streaming back to their tents. Some were weeping, others was talking about Joshua and the kind leader he would be. The children were playing around as though nothing important had happened. Silence settles upon the camp. Everybody turns in for the night, all save one. Slowly through the darkness, the darkened twilight, moves a figure of a lonely old man. His work was done. His last command was given. His last farewell had been said. Now he climbs Mount Nebo, which is another place in Mississippi that my folks are from. Mount Nebo, to the top of Mount of Pisgah. There's Pisgah again. And guess what? Nebo and Pisgah is pretty close together down in Mississippi. To meet the one whom he was serving so faithfully for so long. There was no Aaron to go with him, no Elzar, no Elkazar, no Joshua. On his last sad journey, he walks alone. With a dawn, he looks down upon. With a dawn, that's what it says. It looks. He looks down onto the camp of the people he had loved so much. Then his eyes roamed across the Jordan Valley, westward, northward, southward. There it is, the beautiful land, and the goodly land. For a moment it was all spread out before him in one glorious panorama. How wonderful! How well worth the struggle, the toll, the waiting. It was the last thing he sees on earth. Perhaps the old eyes closed. He falls asleep in the arms of God. So Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the land of Moab, and he buried him. God buried him because I think it said that they didn't find him. I mean, that's what I remember reading the Bible, and that's what they said. He just died. All right, and that was part 2, story 4. We're going to give a break for the next one, and it's getting close to, and then we got a little bit to go, and then we'll go into 4. But right now, we'll break and go and wait for the next one.